I hope I can talk through this and you can hear me right now. A little short here, but we'll do our best. So I'd like to start out by thanking the Bloomsburg University Athletic Department for a great weekend. Not only for this ceremony, but for all the activities that we had over the weekend. It was wonderful. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, my coaches, and the entire Bloomsburg wrestling family for coming out to support me today. I'm humbled and honored to receive this recognition, and just as other people have spoke, I understand that it was a community effort. I didn't do this by myself. There were so many people behind the scenes supporting me and pushing me the entire time. What I'd like to share with my time is how special Bloomsburg wrestling was in the late 80s and early 90s. It was an amazing time to wrestle and to be at Bloomsburg University. The best way to share how great Bloomsburg wrestling was is to talk about my recruiting journey here. I grew up in Lock Haven, so as you know, not a very friendly place when we talk about wrestling when you're from Bloomsburg. Lock Haven is known as Mattown, USA, for a good reason. There's a long list of national champions, All-Americans, and Olympic team members that went through Lock Haven. The community is very strong and loves wrestling like you would not believe. Packed areas, packed field houses anytime there's a wrestling event going on. So from the time I was very young, every coach I had was a Lock Haven University wrestler. That's all I knew. From my elementary coaches to my middle school coaches to my high school coaches, all were Lock Haven University wrestlers. So growing up, I was going to wrestle for Lock Haven University. There's no two ways about it. The coach at Lock Haven University, his name was Neil Turner, a father figure to me. I wrestled with the children growing up, and my sophomore year in high school, I finished third in the state, and it was kind of deemed that I could compete at Division I level, and I verbally committed and said, that's where I'm going to be, coach. I'm going to wrestle for you. I love you. I care about you. That's where I want to be. And that was the plan until the end of my regular season, my senior year. And at that time, Coach Turner, for reasons outside of his own ability, lost his job as a head coach. So at that time, there was a large stack of recruiting letters there, and it was time things got real. I had to decide, where am I going to go now? My plan to be a Lock Haven University wrestler had went away. What do I want to do with my life? So I real quickly started going through that list and narrowed down my choices of where I wanted to be, and it came down to 4 schools: University of Minnesota, University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Syracuse, and Bloomsburg University. Again, reflecting and knowing that my community is what got me there, and if I wanted to be successful, I had to continue doing those same things. I came up with a check sheet of things that were really, really important to me, that I knew if I followed these things and these programs had those aspects, I could be successful. The first one was connection with supportive mentors. When I was in high school, I had 2 men who were like big brothers to me. They were there for me no matter what happened. They were so close to me. They were actually my wedding when I got married. As I talked to these coaches, one person stood out that made a connection with me, Coach Poff. As I spoke to him, there was an immediate connection. I knew that relationships mattered to him. I knew that he put everything first with getting to know people and supporting them as athletes. So over the time from my end of season through my postseason, Coach Poff and I became very, very close. And he put that hook in, letting me know how important Bloomsburg was and how there was a family aspect here. The second thing was having great wrestling coaches. My high school wrestling coach was in the Hall of Fame, probably the best technician I had ever seen in my life, a man by the name of Doug Buckwalter. Looking at Bloomsburg's coaches, we had Hall of Fame coach Roger Sanders. We had Tom Martucci, who is probably the toughest man I've ever met in my life, an NCAA champion. We had Zeke Jones, who at that time was a world team member, a great person to work out with, someone I could depend on. The next thing that I knew was really important was a tradition of excellence. When I won my state championship, I was the 25th state champion in Lock Haven history. We look at the line at Bloomsburg University, it's littered with All-Americans, national champions. When I opened up the magazine when I was in high school, there was Ricky Bonomo on the cover, a 3-time NCAA champion. And I knew that he wrestled my weight class, and if he could do it there, I could do it there also. So a great inspiration. Was wrestling embraced in that area? When I was in high school, every match we packed the gills, people on the floor. When you come to a Bloomsburg match at that time, we wrestled West Virginia, we wrestled Pitt, Penn State, LHU, or some other traditional power, that field house was always packed. I knew there was a great deal of support. And then teammates. From the time I grew up and I had 2 other individuals that won states with me. We knew that we could push each other. The year that I came to Bloomsburg, we were actually one of the top 5 recruiting classes in Division I that year. I had a great teammate in Brad Rosansky, who was also an All-American with me, and by banging heads and pushing ourselves, we reached the goals that we wanted to achieve. And lastly, a rigorous schedule. We wrestled Midlands tournament at Northwestern University, the Virginia Duels conference tournaments. At that time, on a regular basis, I'd be competing against national champions, against All-Americans, against world team members, sometimes coming out on top, sometimes just getting good lessons to prepare me for the end of the year. So Bloomsburg University was an ideal place to wrestle. As Coach Poff said recently in a social media post, you don't take away the buildings, the facilities when you leave a college. You take away the relationships and the memories. I was very fortunate to go to Bloomsburg University and build those relationships and those memories. I lead and I continue to build as we go forward. So I'm very honored to be part of a special time in Bloomsburg University wrestling. I'm very encouraged right now by the hiring of Coach Sussman and the efforts by our booster club to build that tradition back. And I look forward to what the future brings. I'd like to close by thanking again the athletic department and say again, I feel very fortunate to take away so many great memories and friendships from Bloomsburg University. Thank you so much.